Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining Mayor Woodfin's Small Business Tele-Town Hall. We have several folks along with the mayor that will be able to answer many of your questions. We are going to begin momentarily, but we still have a good number of people joining this call right now, so we're going to pause for a moment, wait for the rest to join. While we are waiting for those, I will let you know, you can ask questions during this call. What you will do is press 7 on your dial pad. That is press 7 on your dial pad. You'll be connected to a screener, and that screener will take your question and put it into the system so the mayor and our group of experts can address your question. Once again, that's press 7 on your dial pad. You will be able to talk with a screener who will take your question, and then we will respond to those questions while we're talking. We will also be asking poll questions of you simply to get an idea of the situation that you're dealing with right now. So there will be several opportunities for you to give us input during this phone call. Again, thank you all for being on the line with us. Press 7 on your dial pad. If you have a question, you will be connected to a screener, and we will be looking at those throughout. We're gonna pause for a moment while we wait for the last folks to get on the line, and we'll begin momentarily. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining us for Mayor Randall L. Woodfin's Tele-Town Hall with small business owners throughout our area. We will begin now. One more reminder, if you have a question, press 7 on your dial pad. You can talk with a screener. They will take your question, put it into the system, and we'll be addressing these questions with the mayor and a group of experts over the next 45 or so minutes. With that, let me turn over now for opening comments from Mayor Randall Woodfin.
Good afternoon to all the business owners that are on this call. I want to start with thank you for joining me for a discussion about the state of affairs with our small businesses. For those that joined us for our previous town halls a few weeks back, I want to thank you for being on again, and for those that are joining for the first time, I want to welcome you and want to assure you all and remind you that we're holding this today with the purpose of being in a position to answer your questions. As many of you all know, we are in the 4th week of the COVID-19 crisis, and the pain point for many of you is much different now than it was when this began. I've spoken to many of you that have been impacted. I've spoken with some of your employees. I've spoken with a lot of your family members. And speaking not just as mayor, but as a paying customer to many of your businesses on this call, I'm missing you. I'm partaking in some of your establishments, the food you serve, and the other services many of you all provide to Birmingham and the residents of the city every day. That is why we're doing a few things to support you. Many of you all know that we created the $1 million BHAM Strong Loan Fund. This fund is limited to Birmingham-based companies with 50 or fewer employees. The application period for these loans have closed, and we will be announcing the first round of loan recipients in the next few days. In addition to that, of course, many of you all know the federal government has made a response. We've been fighting for you and advocating for resources from the federal government. The CARES Act that was passed by Congress earlier last week offers many benefits to your businesses and your employees. And so what I wanted to do on this call before we get in the Q&A is open it up to 2 people that I've invited to join us. I've invited our federal lobbyist, his name is Ryan Welch, to provide a high-level overview of those benefits. In addition to that, I have our Director of Innovation and Economic Opportunity, Dr. Josh Carpenter, with me, who can answer some questions of what we've been doing here on the ground and how we can assist. With that, I want to invite Josh and Ryan to provide remarks, and then we'll start taking your questions. And I'll start with Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, greetings to all the small business owners who've joined us today. We appreciate all that you do for our community, and we're continuing to do what we can to help support you during these challenging times. We have 3 main avenues that we want to talk about today and address in different ways. The first is the Birmingham Strong Emergency Loan Fund. Many of the folks on this call, I'm sure, apply. We have begun in earnest the review process. We have the loan review committee, literally as we speak, is reviewing to approve, I think, 50 applications. There were $5.2 million in outstanding requests, and so several businesses applied. We aren't going to be able to help every company that did apply, but our goal is to help as many as possible. We are also working with other foundations, nonprofits, and corporations in the area who are interested in following on funding where the Birmingham Strong Fund might not have enough to fund businesses who rightfully deserve it. The second avenue that we want to spend some time talking with you all today about is really under the same umbrella through the CARES Act. Many of you probably noticed that a little over a week ago in Washington, a large stimulus package passed and went into motion. There are two opportunities for small businesses and nonprofits there. One is called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. It is it's a pretty immediate application that you can fill out very simply. It's online, and there's several resources that we can provide for you. I'd encourage you to initially go to bhamstrong.com, where there's the application, or sba.gov, and you can see the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. That program actually provides $10,000 to businesses who need it immediately. So it functions quite similarly to the Birmingham Strong Loan Fund in that it provides emergency bridge funding as soon as possible. The second vehicle where businesses can get help is through the Paycheck Protection Program. That's for businesses that are have 500 employees or fewer, and it has to go through a bank. So you need to first run to your bank, the bank with whom you have a relationship, if possible. We understand that a variety of things can make that difficult for business owners. Number one, if your bank is not participating in the Paycheck Protection Program, there are some banks who are not participating. We have been in contact. In fact, last week, the mayor and I had a call with about 14 regional banks after we spoke with the regional administrator from the Small Business Administration, and we asked to learn about how those banks were moving in this space. We have some clarity on that, but we also want to help you get to a lender. You have to work with an SBA-approved 7A lender. There are still some options. We know, for example, that Wells Fargo and others have actually already closed their portal, but there are still some options out there. Some of you may say, well, I want to apply, but I'm worried there won't be enough money. It looks like it's already filled. Well, we're hopeful, and I think Ryan can speak to this, but as early as Thursday, it looks like the Senate is going to take up a consideration to supply more funding to that SBA provision. Right now it has about $350 billion into it. So we want to be a partner with you as you apply, and we want to make sure that you have the resources you need to apply. Ryan, I'll defer to you to kind of run through the details of the application process and any legislative updates that these folks need to be aware of.
Sure. Thanks, Josh, and thanks, Mayor. Ryan Welch with Forbes State Partners, and one of the firms that works for the city in D.C. With our delegation and with Congress and the administration in general to advocate not just on behalf of the city, but on behalf of all of you that do business and live in the Birmingham area. The mayor has been clear with us from the beginning, worked closely with his staff and himself to push hard to make sure that every opportunity we can, the city is speaking up on behalf of small business owners in the city and doing what we can. Josh is right. I think the EIDL and the Paycheck Protection Program represent your best opportunities. I would say for those of you that have existing SBA loans, in addition, they are providing 6 months of debt relief that will cover principal and interest on any existing SBA loans that you have. So for those of you that have existing loans, that's an opportunity for you as well. the Paycheck Protection Program, as Josh mentioned, is $350 billion in it. As of about 10 a.m. this morning, the SBA had approved over almost $62 billion of that $350, and so that money is moving quickly. And recognizing that, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has pushed out the idea of adding between $200 and $250 billion to that funding. I should say, if you are a sole proprietorship or a contractor, that the PPP loan actually won't be available for you until I believe the 10th, but it should open up on the 10th. But again, seeing the popularity of it and the need across the country, Congress is already working to expand the funding for that and address where they can with the Treasury some issues that have come up. I'm sure for those of you that have been working through this, for everyone that's had a great experience, there's a lot of people that have had trouble working through their banks and through some issues, some technical issues with the portal and things like that have been a little bit problematic. But even through that, they have been able to approve $60 billion in just a few days. For a little comparison, the SBA usually does about 60,000 loans a year at about $30 billion. So in about 4 days, they have done twice as much as they do normally in a single year, and that's yeoman's work, but it's coming with some issues along the way. But I do think those are your two key areas, but I did want to talk about a couple of other areas that I think are important for you and potentially for your employees as well. The foreclosure moratorium has been put in place that allows for prevents the foreclosure of properties for people falling behind on government-backed mortgages and those backed by Fannie and Freddie Mac. There's also the ability to request forbearance on their payments for up to 6 months with a possible extension for another 6 months. And there is this obviously applies to both residential properties and for you small business owners as well, potentially there. As the mayor talked about in his webinar's little video earlier, I think for everybody involved, we're trying to keep the economy going. If you have revenue coming in and you have the ability to pay your rent or your mortgage, we'd ask you do that because that just keeps things moving in the right direction. But there are opportunities to allow for forbearance on loan payments. For those with multifamily properties, there's a similar 90-day forbearance on their loan payments there. And it gives, again, opportunity in 30-day increments to allow you to work within this situation and address things as you see fit. And again, any property owner that receives a federal subsidy or a federally backed mortgage is prohibited from filing for eviction against or charging penalties or fees to a tenant who cannot pay rent for a period of 120 days after enactment of this act. The other thing that we did, that most all of the extended leave, all of the leave provisions actually happened in the second package called the Families First Act. There were some slight tweaks in the CARES Act that did clarify certain limitations on how much an employer would be required to spend daily on an employee under leave and or on sick leave. For those of you that have businesses under 50, the vast majority, if you are able to show an undue burden in covering those leaves, the Department of Labor is largely allowing forbearance, or your you are not required to follow those obligations. Again, where those of you can afford to keep those people on and pay them, I think that is the best thing for the economy, but I think those are all decisions that you have to make for yourselves. But the Department of Labor does allow those businesses under 50 employees that are seeing an undue burden by following the requirements of the Family First Act to be exempt from those requirements.
Hey, Ryan, this is Rick. Let me step in because we got a lot of calls on the line. I think some of these are going to be addressing. There's a lot of questions, rather, that we have. We are going to turn to our questions now. We've got a good number. You can still press 7 on your dial pad, and you'll be connected with a screener. You can ask your question. We will begin those. Before we ask the first question, I do want to ask everybody on this call a poll question. Our first question will be, how do you feel COVID-19 has affected your business? Press 1 for a little, press 2 for somewhat, press 3 for largely, press 4 for not at all. Once again, how do you feel COVID-19 has affected your business? Press 1 for little, press 2 for somewhat, press 3 for largely, and press 4 for not at all. We're going to keep this call open for about 3 minutes. I'll remind you before we close it off. And with that, let's go to our first question from somebody on the line. I am a contractor. Can I file for the unemployment loan?
The answer to that question is there's 2 main ways you can apply if you have lost revenue as an independent contractor. One is through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and that's on SBA.gov. The other place that you can go to get money if you're an independent contractor, and this is brand new from the CARES Act, is actually the Unemployment Insurance Office. Another provision of the CARES Act was to provide independent workers or gig workers, folks who drive Ubers and Lyfts and do other types of sort of gig economy work. You can get unemployment insurance for the first time ever. The minimum for the state has been $45. However, under the CARES Act, the new minimum is $645 a week. So if you are an independent contractor, there are 2 methods that you can go to tomorrow if you've lost revenue. One is the EIDL on SBA.gov, and the other is unemployment insurance. Okay,
our next question. I applied for the city loan through Birmingham Strong. When will I be notified regarding approval?
So that will probably happen this week. Again, as we speak, the loan review committee is reviewing 49 loan applications. I suspect that they will have another tranche at the end of this week and the beginning of next week. So it will probably happen between the next 7 to 10 days.
Okay, a reminder for you on our poll question right now. I'm going to ask it one more time. You'll have 15 seconds to respond. Then we will close this poll out and ask another one momentarily. Once again, how do you feel COVID-19 has affected your business? Press 1 for a little, press 2 for somewhat, press 3 for largely, press 4 for not at all. You have about 15 seconds to respond. Our next question, since Wells Fargo is no longer doing PPP applications, are there any other avenues to apply for PPP in Birmingham?
Right now, the 2 places that I can recommend are Hope Credit Union has become an approved 7A lender that's participating. They are new to Alabama. And if you go to hopecreditunion.com, they have a portal that's set up. Another location, a bigger bank with a presence here in Birmingham, is PNC Bank. Their portal is still up, and they are accepting new clients.
Our next question comes from a bar owner who has been shut down for nearly a month now and is struggling. What is the city doing to assist with small entertainment businesses during this time?
Unfortunately, beyond the Birmingham Strong loan and the 2 loan programs we mentioned to you earlier, our toolbox is limited. Our goal is to make sure that we can get you a bridge loan, but I would encourage you, particularly if you're struggling, to make sure you apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Just to put a finer point on it, this money is first come, first serve. And we want, Mayor Woodfin and our team want to make sure that you all are applying. So please, if you are struggling and you need cash to make payroll or to continue to keep your doors open or people on staff, please go to sba.gov right now and apply for the EIDL.
Our next question comes from a nonprofit, a small nonprofit whose fundraising depends on events. How can they take advantage of benefits provided by the city? I would also like to reach out to Ryan on that as far as how CARES addresses nonprofits as well. Josh, do you want to start that?
Sure. Nonprofits are eligible to apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and the Paycheck Protection Program. My advice to that small nonprofit would be to go to your bank or your lender and see if they're an approved lender with the Paycheck Protection Program. If they are not, again, the Hope Credit Union and PNC Bank are working with nonprofits and small businesses to make these types of loans.
Ryan, would you like to add to that?
No, he hit the nail on the head. All 501c3 nonprofits, I will say there's a long list of different C organizations, but all 501c3s are eligible as long as they're under 500 employees and can take advantage of the EIDL and the PPP program. So I think that Josh is right. Those are your best avenues in the near term. I would remind you, however, all charitable contributions are tax deductible at 100% rate now versus the normal 60%. So that is another avenue for nonprofits to use to remind your donors that they actually get an extra benefit during this tax year by donating to charity. There is 100% benefit on all giving to charities.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. I'm going to ask our next poll question. Do the COVID-19 protocols that have been put into place make you feel safer? Once again, the question, do the COVID-19 protocols that have been put into place make you feel safer? Press 1 for much safer. Press 2 for somewhat safer. Press 3 for not much safer. Once again, do the COVID-19 protocols that have been put into place make you feel safer? Press 1 for much safer. Press 2 for somewhat safer. Press 3 for not much safer. We're going to be open for about 3 minutes on that question, and then I will remind you before we close it out and move to the next question. Now, from our folks on the line right now, our next question on this, and I've just got to double check I'm reading it, so I think I'm correct on this. We're referencing the PNC Payment Protection Program. They have applied by having an issue on the borrower portion of the application, and PNC is unable to answer questions. Is there anything that can be done? Is there any resource or help that's out there?
Yes, to the listener who called in with that specific question, please go to bhamstrong.com, go to the CARES Small Biz button, and fill out the form. Make sure in the note where it says, how can we help you, that you list that. We will raise that directly with our contacts at PNC. Also, for other listeners who are interested in applying for these programs, there is a page on the bhamstrong.com website that would allow you to request in person a phone call to help you walk through this application if you need that. We've already done that for about 30 small businesses. Happy to help, and we work with a team of folks in town to help make that happen. But if you do need help with your application, please don't apply because you didn't find the help you needed. Go to bhamstrong.com, CARES Small Biz.
All right, next to our next question, and I believe this applies to the BHAM Strong Fund, but I will also open it up to Josh and to Ryan if you want to address this on other funds that are or on other loans that are out there on a federal level. What is the process for paying back the loan? Is it possible to have a smaller loan option so we aren't so much in debt, or offer a 1 year to pay it back?
So I'm not sure exactly which loan program this is referring to. In terms of the Birmingham Strong loan, our loans are going to be zero payments for 180 days, and then very low interest rates. That's the same with the SBA rates. They're all very much below market, 3.5% thereabouts each loan. So regarding the economic injury loan, some of these loans, and Ryan, I'll let you talk about this.
Yeah, Josh, let me jump in that on the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Most of that loan if you follow the guidelines that are there, which means about 75% of your loan goes towards employee paychecks, and the 25% goes towards rent, utilities, and a couple of other eligible expenses, that loan will be forgivable up to that amount. If you follow the guidelines there, it will be forgivable. It will essentially be a grant. However, if there are portions of the loan and the Paycheck Protection Program that are not forgivable for whatever reason, those will run at a 1% rate, and the payback period is 2 years. For EIDL, which allows you more flexibility beyond just the paycheck and basic utilities, it can be essentially an operating loan to let you run the vast majority, pay for the vast majority of things you need to pay for as a business. That will run at 375, and the term on at a maximum of 375, and the term on that it can be as much as 30 years. So a lot of opportunities for long-term payments, and again, that first $10,000 from the EIDL is a grant itself. You will not have to pay it back. But if you do get a loan beyond that, it's 375 over 30 years are the max ends of the opportunities there.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Before we go to our next question, I want to close out the current poll question. You've got 15 seconds after I read it to respond if you haven't already. Do the COVID-19 protocols that have been put into place make you feel safer? Press 1 for much safer, press 2 for somewhat safer, and press 3 for not much safer. We've got 15 seconds, and then we will close that one out. We'll come up on another question momentarily. Our next question, will the Birmingham Strong loan have any impact on businesses who receive the Paycheck Protection Loan or Economic Injury Loan?
The answer is no.
Correct. We wanted it to be a bridge loan. We wanted to supplement the other programs that SBA has.
Okay, our next question. Okay, so this is filed for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and received BHAM Strong email. When will we receive a response? I know that was similar to one we had earlier, and we got a few other questions asking about response times if they have filed for Birmingham Strong Fund.
So many folks will be hearing back this week. I would say that all of us will hear back between 7 and 10 days.
So let me ask you on that same question, just as a follow-up, on the federal programs through the CARES Act, do we know timelines on that? Are we getting any kind of feel for when we'll receive responses on those pieces? Ryan?
Yeah, on EIDL, for the $10,000, the initial money, they say as quickly as 3 days. I have not seen that to be the case as a whole. I think probably 7 to 10 days is a more likely scenario there. On PPP, again, for those banks that have had good access to the SBA and approval, that there's $60 billion in funding that businesses have access to today. But that it unfortunately it hasn't been a uniform thing, and there have been some struggles and just some capacity issues. But the goal there is to have that money in the hands of businesses absolutely as quickly as they can process those loans, first at the bank and then get final approval from the SBA. I think the intent there is, again, once you've submitted to the bank, the hope is to be able to clear those and send them, make the money available to you in a matter of days, as quickly as they possibly can.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Let me ask the next question from our poll. This question, what has been your biggest concern during this time? Press 1 for safety, press 2 for maintaining my business, and press 3 for other. Once again, what has been your biggest concern during this time? Press 1 for safety, press 2 for maintaining my business, and press 3 for other. Let's go to our next question. Are there any special circumstances for people that have filed for unemployment to receive the additional federal grant of $600?
The answer is that if you've applied for federal unemployment assistance right now, you will receive $600 if your unemployment was related to unemployment through COVID. And again, those categories are broader than they once were. So this does include independent contractors and gig workers as well.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's go to our next question. If we are keeping employees, do you need to pay occupational tax?
Yes, the answer is yes. We are grateful you're keeping your employees, and we're really grateful for the jobs that you create in our community. Occupational tax is important for us to keep the lights on at City Hall, and what we've studied around models around the country is that what we would love to do is be able to help small businesses directly, and occupational tax is a way for us to maintain city services that are important for small businesses like yours.
Let's move on to the next question. This person is also a nonprofit organization. We had one earlier that asked a question. Will they be given consideration for funding? The SBA loans will not make it down. The concern is the SBA loans will not make it down to nonprofit levels. Only small businesses will get those funds.
Ryan, I'll defer to you, but my understanding is that the SBA is funding nonprofits and small businesses with the same level of regard.
Yeah, this is the independent contractors, the 1099s, the single practitioners, the gig economy people. Unfortunately, did have a delay. I think they will be able to file starting on Friday for the PPP loan. But nonprofits and all those others, yes, is a first come, first served basis. Congress has heard the concern. They've seen the activity around this, and that is why they are working. Initial estimates were the $350 billion would all be allocated within 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Congress has recognized that very quickly, and they are working to get agreement on expanding the program by, again, the current thinking was somewhere between $200 and $250 billion expansion of the program, which would put it at $550 or $600 billion because they see the interest, the need, and they're looking to make sure the folks that want access to it have access to it and don't get left out because of a first-come, first-served basis.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Just a reminder, we are closing out our current question that we were polling you on. The question, once again, if you have not responded, what has been your biggest concern during this time? Press 1 for safety, press 2 for maintaining my business, and press 3 for other. We're going to give you another 15 seconds, and then we will close that one out. Our next question comes, and this also, we've had this question asked before, has applied for the Birmingham Strong Loan. When will we receive a response, which was this week, likely you'll receive a response. But there are other questions that this individual has that he would like to have addressed, or they would like to have addressed. Who can they call? How can they get more information?
Right now, please go to bhamstrong.com, and right when you get to the homepage, there's Help for Small Business under the CARES Act. There's a form that you can fill out, and if you need direct assistance, we're happy to help provide it. But please go there so that we can get some information on your business and direct you to the right resource.
So our next question, when applying for the PPP loan for restaurant owners, do you include gratuity in your payroll number and payroll tax that you've paid?
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. You answered that one.
Well, I should clarify the payroll tax of the employee, not the payroll tax that you as the employer cover. But their tips and the payroll tax for the employee are covered expenses for the PPP.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. So now we're moving along. We've got a lot of questions. We're still darting through these. I will remind you, if you haven't asked a question and you still have a question you want to ask, we've got some time to respond. Press 7 on your dial pad, and you'll be connected with a screener. You'll be able to ask your question to them. They will put it in the system. We're trying to answer as many questions as possible while we have this time on the line together. Stand by while I load the next one. This is actually, we've had a couple of questions like this. This is a delivery service asking if there are any ideas where employers can buy masks for employees.
Right now, the supply for masks and other forms of personal protective equipment is critically low. There are some more supply coming online, and we're happy to help make those available when we have them. But right now, there's no source that I can definitively direct you to where you can go buy masks.
Okay, I'm going to ask our final poll question on this phone call. Once again, you know the routine. You'll press based on what my prompts are. The question: how long could you sustain your business without customers during COVID-19? This is a business sustainability question. How long could you sustain your business without customers during COVID-19? Press 1 for 2 months. Press 2 for 6 months. Press 3 for 1 year. Again, how long could you sustain your business without customers during COVID-19? Press 1 for 2 months. Press 2 for 6 months, and press 3 for 1 year. Our next question, similar to what we had earlier, but just to make sure we're covering all of these questions, this deals with the payroll protection plan. This individual has paid itself as a contractor and not salary. Is this person covered?
They can apply for all three of the loans that we've talked about. They can apply for the unemployment insurance, payroll protection plan, and the economic injury disaster loan program.
Our next question, what about sole proprietors or barbers? What's there for them?
Again, they are eligible for all three of those sources as well.
Next question. This is about renting. How long should we allow a tenant to go without paying rent? Will they be able to recover any of those funds if that person is not paying rent?
Ryan, I'll allow you to supplement my answer here, but my understanding under the CARES Act is that no evictions can be made for 120 days and no notices of eviction can be made 30 days after that. So the goal here really isn't, again, for tenants not to pay rent when they are able to do so. We know that's important to keep the economy moving. However, we also want to be sensitive to the fact that displacing someone while they're experiencing an unprecedented economic challenge is something that we wanted to look out for as well. And that tenant law applies to any buildings that have received any form of federal financial aid in development of that building or the refurbishment of that building. Ryan, correct me if I was wrong there.
No, that's correct. I think it is also important for those of you that are, you have tenants yourself in that scenario. This does not relinquish their obligation to pay. They still owe that rent. It just allows for some forbearance in paying that rent. And how long, I think that's just a decision that you'll have to make for yourself based on, again, beyond what the law requires of you if you're obligated under the law that stands now. But it does not relinquish their obligation to pay that rent. They are obligated to pay it.
This is a broad question, but I think a lot of people, it's important to point this out for a lot of people who've joined us on the line who may not be completely up to speed on all of the loans that are available. What are the PPP and what are the other types of loans available at this time?
So the PPP stands for the Paycheck Protection Program, and the other loan with an acronym is the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. Both of those programs were made available through the CARES Act. You can learn more about them in lay terms on our website, bhamstrong.com. You can also have links to apply for them, and if you need assistance to apply for them, there's a way to get someone to call you and help you and your business get through those. In terms of what they can do, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is meant to provide quick and immediate relief within 72 hours of the application to the applicant to make sure that they have emergency funding. And the Paycheck Protection Program is meant to provide up to 2.5 times your payroll for a couple of months so that you can continue to keep people employed during this time.
Our next question, try to apply.
I would want to point out that they're actually, those are the two CARES Act specific programs. SBA actually has their standard 7A program, which the PPP program is kind of a spinoff of 504, and they also have microloans, all of which you could, if eligible, apply for and upon being granted those, would have 6 months of principal and interest paid for those loans. PPP and EIDL are the big loans, but SBA has other loans that part of the CARES Act allows for 6 months of principal and interest payments by the government of those loans, whether you have them currently or whether you get them during the COVID-19 period of time.
All right, thanks a lot, Ryan. Okay, so we have another question from a small business owner who has tried to apply for PPP, but their CPA has been locked out of their building and unable to pay taxes for 2019. Is there anything else I can do? I am struggling. Yes,
there is some understanding of a best effort on FY19, particularly. You should be able to work with your bank to either give a best assessment of what your numbers were in 19, or frankly, I've heard of some banks just telling people to include non-applicable or not available at this time. I think Treasury has realized that that isn't necessarily something people have access to right now for any number of reasons.
I would also just say that taxpayer should just include their last relevant tax returns, even though they haven't been able to do their 2019 return.
Okay.
Yeah, include your 18 for sure.
Just to let everybody know, we're coming up near the end of the call, but we're still going to try to go rapid fire through as many questions as we can. We can tell that these are things that you're really wanting to get. I want to finish up and close up my poll question for you right now. You got 15 seconds after I ask it to respond if you have not already. How long could you sustain your business without customers during COVID-19? Press 1 for 2 months, press 2 for 6 months, press 3 for 1 year. We've got 15 seconds, and then we're going to close that one out. Let's move to our next question. Another nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit that receives federal assistance. Can I still apply for the PPP loan?
Yes. These programs are not exclusive to current federal programs.
Okay, let's just 1 second while we put up our next one. Stand by 1 second. Bear with me. We've already asked another question about hand sanitizer for drivers and passengers for a business. At this point, I think you said, Josh, that we don't have any sources that we can point you to. Bear with me. If I have applied for the SBA loan, will I receive a confirmation email?
Ryan, I believe you receive a confirmation, but it depends on which loan. If you're applying for the Paycheck Protection Program, you should receive correspondence from your bank, and I believe you receive a confirmation email from the SBA on the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program.
Yeah, on the EIDL, you definitely get a confirmation number, and I believe there's also an email that comes along with it.
So another question. This business has been closed since March 13th. They do not qualify for the SBA or the Birmingham Strong. Are there any other options?
I think they would definitely qualify for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And if they have questions, I would encourage that business to reach out to us at bhamstrong.com, and we'll do what we can to help identify another source of capital.
Okay, so let me follow up with everybody who is on this line right now. Thank you first for being with us. We've got a couple of more pieces of information we want to provide for you. I do want to let you know that if we have not been able to ask your question, and we've gone through a good number, but we still have them coming in, we're going to collect all of these questions, and we will work with the bhamstrong.com. We will work with the bhamstrong.com website, as well as the City of Birmingham's birminghamal.gov/coronavirus, and putting some of these frequently asked questions up there so you can refer to them, and know that we continue to work through these Tele-Town halls and other pieces of information to provide you information as quickly and as accurately as we can during this time, which we know is a difficult, very, very difficult time for you. With that, if you have additional questions that you have not asked, press 7 on your dial pad, When this call ends, you will still be able to leave the question, leave the message, and we can review those as well. With that, I would like to turn back again to Mayor Woodfin for some closing remarks.
I first would like to start with a thank you to the small business owners on this call. The thank you is also extended to Ryan and his entire team at Forbes Tate for being our federal lobbyists and the advisement and guidance they give us. And I want to thank Dr. Josh Carpenter and his entire team in the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. To the small business owners on this call, I know without any hesitation there is an overwhelming amount of angst, fear, concern, worry, questions that some of us don't even have the answers to, and so many other emotions that you all are feeling during this very hard time that you're experiencing as a small business owner, the ripple it has on your employees that you care about, the ripple it has on your customers that you're concerned about, and the ripple it has on your own family. I am extremely sad that we are all in this place together, and I do want you to know we are in it together. We're going to continue to do everything we can to engage not only our federal lobbyists, but Congresswoman Terry Sewell, Senator Doug Jones, and Senator Richard Shelby to seek federal help. We'll continue to do everything we can in engaging Secretary Fitzgerald, who is the Secretary of Labor for the state, as well as the governor's office to have assistance, to get assistance. And we will continue to do everything here at a local level we can in engaging the funding we have and seek matching funding from corporate Birmingham to offset the losses our small businesses are experiencing. Again, we're all in this together. We will continue to make ourselves available. Please, if you have any questions and think we can be of any assistance or address, bhamstrong.com is a great resource, as well as don't hesitate to call us or email us. And with that, I simply say thank you. I imagine we will get through this together. I feel we will, but I know April is tough. April will be tough. But let us know how we can be of help, and take care of yourselves.
That concludes our call. Once again, we are tracking all the questions that have not been answered and additional questions coming in. If you have pressed 7, hold on the line. A screener will take care of you and will get your question, and we will follow up. You can also listen to this playback of this at birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. You will see a header for Tele-Town halls. This one will be posted momentarily, and it will be the most recent one, so it'll be the first one on the list of Tele-Town halls. With that, thank you for taking this time. We appreciate what you do to contribute to our city, and thank you for all that you're doing right now. Have a good evening.